The first thing I remember is the sound of applause cutting off. 1 second, I was standing with the rest of my graduating class, the stage lights hot against my face, my name just called. The next moment, the floor tilted sideways and the auditorium ceiling slid out of focus. People later told me I fainted mid-step, that my knees buckled before anyone realized something was wrong. To me, it felt quieter than that. Just a sudden heaviness in my chest. Then nothing. When I woke up, the applause had been replaced by the soft, steady beeping of machines, a hospital room, white ceiling panels, a tube taped to my arm. A nurse was adjusting something near the bed when she noticed my eyes open. "Welcome back," she said gently. My throat was dry. Graduation. "You made an impression," she said, with kind of careful smile medical staff use when they're deciding how much truth to give someone. Later, a doctor explained there had been a collapse, an ambulance. Tests they were still running. Nothing immediately catastrophic, but serious enough that they wanted observation. "Your parents were contacted," he added. I nodded slowly, relieved without even thinking about it. For a while I drifted in and out of sleep. The machines hummed beside me like patient guardians. No one came. At first I assumed they were on their way. Then that maybe traffic was bad. By the evening of the next day, the idea of them arriving had quietly stopped feeling real. A nurse eventually asked if there was anyone else they should call. I said no. It wasn't anger, just practicality. On the third day, when my head was clearer, I reached for my phone on the bedside table. The battery had been charged by someone while I was out. There were a handful of notifications. Group chats from classmates, a message from a professor checking if I was okay, then a tagged notification from my sister. I opened it without thinking. The photo was bright and sunlit. My sister stood between our parents, all three of them smiling in front of the Eiffel Tower. My mother wore oversized sunglasses and a scarf that looked like it had been bought 5 minutes before the picture. The caption read, "Finally, Paris family trip. No stress. No drama." I stared at it longer than I expected. It wasn't the trip that surprised me. They had mentioned planning something weeks earlier. What settled strangely in my chest was the timing. They had left the country the same day I collapsed. The hospital must have called them while they were already at the airport, or maybe in the taxi. I tried to imagine that conversation. A doctor explaining their child had been taken away in an ambulance. A boarding announcement echoing in the background. Someone deciding it would probably be fine. The thing about growing up in a family like mine is that moments like that never arrive as a shock. They land like confirmations. I thought about the small things first. School events they missed because of important meetings. Birthdays that became quick dinners between other plans. The way my concerns were often described as being dramatic, emotional, too intense. Eventually, you learn to lower the volume of your own life, not for attention, just so it doesn't inconvenience anyone. I locked my phone and let it rest on the blanket. The machines beside me kept doing their quiet work. 2 more days passed before I was strong enough to sit up without dizziness. A physical therapist helped me walk the hallway once, slowly, one hand brushing the wall for balance. That evening, I picked up my phone again. 65 missed calls. Most from my father. The newest message sat at the top of the screen. "We need you." Answer immediately. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. A group message meant for someone else. Then I noticed the time stamps, all from the last 6 hours. I opened the message thread. More texts followed the first one. "Call me. This is urgent. Why aren't you responding?" It was strange reading them. The tone was unfamiliar. My father had always been calm, distant, controlled. Urgent didn't fit him. I sat there for a long time before replying, not typing, just thinking. Over the past 2 years, I had gradually taken over a lot of things for the family, not intentionally. It just happened because I was the one who understood the systems, taxes, property paperwork, digital accounts, legal forms. Small logistical responsibilities that accumulate until they quietly become structural. My parents often joked that I was the organized one, but what they meant was that I solved problems before they reached them. Apparently, something had finally reached them. I didn't answer right away. Not out of spite. I was still connected to two machines and a monitor that beeped if I moved too quickly. Even sitting up too long made my vision blur. Instead, the next morning I mentioned the messages to the hospital's patient coordinator, who had been helping with paperwork and insurance calls. She glanced at the screen thoughtfully. If it's related to financial or legal matters, she said, you're technically under medical observation right now. You don't have to handle anything immediately. She made a short call to a legal services office the hospital worked with for patient support. Within an hour, someone had explained the situation to my father in very calm, very procedural language. That I was hospitalized, that any urgent documentation would require formal authorization, that nothing could be processed through me until I was discharged. Systems move differently than families. They do not respond to pressure. They respond to process. My phone rang once more later that day. I answered this time. My father's voice came through, tight with something I rarely heard from him. Why didn't you answer earlier? I looked at the heart monitor beside the bed, its steady rhythm blinking across the screen. I was unconscious, I said simply, and then recovering. There was silence on the line. He cleared his throat. We have a situation here, he said. I know. Another pause. You could have told us sooner. I thought about the hospital staff calling them from the graduation hall, the unanswered messages from doctors, the photo in Paris sunlight. I think someone did, I said. Neither of us spoke for a while after that. Eventually, he explained the problem they were facing, something bureaucratic and expensive that required the account access and authorization only I had set up. I listened quietly. I can help once I'm discharged, I said finally. When will that be? Soon, I said. It wasn't a promise, just information. When the call ended, the room felt quiet again. Outside the window, evening light stretched across the hospital parking lot. For the first time in years, nothing urgent was resting on my shoulders, just recovery, and the unfamiliar feeling of time to decide what responsibility would look like from here.